Hello and welcome back to ERU, where we discuss the biggest results and talking points from across European football. Joining me today, it's Henry Hill, who is looking very Parisian in his turtleneck. How are you, Henry? Great look today.
Thank you. Well, February's rolling around, Valentine's Day coming up soon.
It is.
Got to sharpen the look. But yeah, can you believe it? February's here. I think this marks 1 year since we went into lockdown. Is that right? Or at least when we stopped working in the office. So it's now been a year since I got to see you in person. So, heartbreaking news.
Yeah. It's been far too long. But I'm more excited about your potential Valentine's Day date who loves turtlenecks. Best of luck. Best of luck with that. But anyway, let's get into the football because there is so much to discuss on today's show. We're doing a winner, we're doing a loser, and we are breaking down some massive events in France. But we're kicking off today with our winner, which is Bayern Munich at the suggestion of Yisak AED_. Why is that, Henry?
So if we go back to the start of the season, Bayern suffered that surprising 4-1 defeat to Hoffenheim. Well, they exacted their revenge this time around, inflicting the same scoreline on them. 4-1 this weekend, with goals from Jerome Boateng, Thomas Muller, Lewandowski obviously got in on the action. Serge Gnabry actually got a really important goal. It's been a while since he scored. And then Andre Kramaric as well. He got a consolatory finish for Hoffenheim. And, Bayern, they endured a fairly shaky start to the season by their standards, dropping points in 5 of their opening 15 league games and exited the DFB Pokal at the hands of Holstein Kiel. It feels only a few weeks ago I was writing about what Bayern Munich needs to do differently and what's potentially going wrong. Well, how wrong were we perhaps? Because they've now won their last 4 league games, scoring 11 goals and conceding just 2. To make it better, Leipzig have dropped 5 points and Dortmund 8 in that period, which means that Bayern's lead at the top table is 7 points. Perhaps they watched our video and sorted it out, who knows. But if we go back to that game itself, it was a fairly even affair. Manuel Neuer had to pull off some pretty stunning saves. Bayern had 60% possession but created 15 opportunities with 9 on target. To Hoffenheim's 16 with 5. And XG had it at 2 to 1.9. So really tight affair. That's in favour of Bayern Munich. But as usual, it was their finishing and their quality that really came good in the end. You always get the sense they're going to get a breakthrough, and of course they did. Boateng was from a tough header from an outswinging corner. Muller's goal came for a sea of bodies from the edge of the area. Lewandowski a bit of a tap-in, and then, like I said, Gnabry back on the score sheet there. This shouldn't be a surprise, though, really. They scored 15 more than XG predicts. The next largest gap in Europe's top 5 leagues is Union Berlin on 9, and they're averaging 3 goals per league game this season, which is once again frightening. Bayern Munich looking like they are back to their best, but not quite the same for Hoffenheim, is it?
No, not at all. For their manager, Sebastian Hoeneß, who's the nephew of former Bayern president Uli Hoeneß, they'll know it could have been a lot closer, really. Bebu missed a one-on-one after 6 minutes. He also missed a free header after 25 minutes. And Neuer, as you mentioned, made 5 saves, the best of which was from sort of point-blank range with a sort of face or body from a Kaderabek effort from sort of point-blank range in the second half. He'd only just come on as a substitute, Kaderabek even. And Neuer's likelihood of saving a shot, so his XG post-shot, I won't go into too many details, but basically his likelihood of saving a shot on target this season is the best in the division. And having sort of ruled him out or maybe said that he was in decline around the 2018 World Cup, he has really come back to his best in 2020 and he's carried that through to 2021 as well. And it was interesting that Bayern managed to, their defeat to Hoffenheim in the 4-1 in the reverse was their only defeat in the whole of 2020 in all competitions. And you could see that Bayern were really motivated to get revenge in this one. But back to Hoffenheim, they've had a pretty mixed season, really. They've lost 9 of their 19 games, but they have beaten Gladbach and Bayern. So make of that what you will, really. The main issue is they've conceded 34 league goals, 1.8 per game, including 3 or more in 6 games. Only Hertha Berlin, Mainz and Schalke, the hapless Schalke, Kieran Carl and Schalke, have conceded more. Thank the Lord for Kramaric, though, from their perspective. He scored 13 goals and assisted 2 in 15 Bundesliga appearances. I still think he's one of the most underrated players in Europe, never linked with a big move. He's 29, I think, now, maybe slightly older than that, so maybe he's just found his level. But he has been absolutely awesome this season, and particularly recently as well. He's got 5 goals in his last 3 games, and on Saturday he completed 5 dribbles, created 3 chances, and fired off 3 shots, and finished that goal as well exceptionally well. For Bayern, Jerome Boateng, who we've talked about on this channel for the last couple of weeks, his contract's sort of coming up, not quite sure what his future holds. He was excellent in this game. 3 tackles and interceptions, 3 aerial duels, 92% pass accuracy, 1 shot, 1 goal. As Henry said, that sort of corner, heading away from an outswinging corner, great header. Serge Gnabry was also very good. 1 tackle, 2 aerial duels, 2 dribbles, 3 key passes, 2 shots and 1 goal. But man of the match, I wanted to give it to Joshua Kimmich once again. I think he is the best midfielder in Europe. You can argue KDB, but he's not really a central midfielder in the same way Kimmich is, and I think Kimmich is just a bit clear. 4 tackles and interceptions, 1 aerial duel, 3 key passes, 2 shots and 1 goal. Get this, he's now got 3 goals and 13 assists in 16 League and Champions League games this season. And considering he had a really nasty injury, that's just an absolutely ridiculous tally. I mean, Henry, what do you make of Kimmich being the best midfielder in the world? Am I just getting ahead of myself?
Oh, well, I mean, interestingly, when I was writing about that Bayern script, there was some really interesting stuff about how Thiago was actually the main guy at breaking up kind of pressure on the defence, and his ability to dribble away from defenders was unmatched, and even his defensive work rate. And that's kind of what they were missing, in effect, is that in the way that teams have been more creative in coming at Bayern Munich this season. However, as an all-round midfielder, you can't deny Kimmich's numbers this year. I didn't even realise that 13 assists. I like you, I absolutely love this guy. He could play for any team in the world, hands down, not a problem. So I have no complaints. I do think KDB is amazing, and certainly in the FD group chat, there's been this kind of Bruno versus KDB conversation right now, and I don't think Bruno actually comes close to KDB, really, all things considered. But Kimmich is right there next to him. I agree.
Absolutely. Good man. We're on the same page on that one. Let's see whether we are with our loser. Let's go on to our next section.
It's time for our loser this week, and we had a lot of suggestions for PSG online after they suffered that 3-2 defeat against Lorient, inexplicably throwing away a lead with about 10 minutes to go. However, we're talking about a French side a little bit later, so we've gone with Swagato is back suggestion of Real Madrid. And Dougie, what has happened to Zidane this week? Another difficult time for Zidane and his crew.
Yeah, the period of sort of discontent at the Bernabeu, well, they're not in the Bernabeu at the moment, that could be a factor as well, sort of continues at the moment as 10 men Real Madrid lost further ground in the title race by throwing away a 1-0 lead to lose 2-1 at home to Levante, with goals from Marco Asensio, Morales and Roger Martí in an eventful game. Now, we normally don't go into detail on what happened in the nitty-gritty of the game, but to make sense of this game, I've kind of got to. So 9 minutes in, Militao was sent off for bringing down Sergio Leon, who was, of course, used to be at Real Betis. Ref initially gave a yellow card to Sergio Leon for a dive. Instead, that got overturned with VAR. Real Madrid were down to 10 men, sending off the 23-year-old Brazilian on just his 3rd league start of the season. Not ideal for Militao when he's trying to establish himself in the absence of Nacho and Sergio Ramos at the moment. But Real Madrid took the lead. 4 minutes later, following a delightful ball from Cruz over the top to Asensio, he finished very well. But there was controversy in that as well, because it looked like Mendy elbowed Molero in the build-up in the other box before Cruz got the ball. So that was a bit controversial. And then there was another incident in the second half when Vinicius Jr., who'd only been on for a matter of seconds, charged back and took down left-back Clerc on the edge of the penalty area. It was initially given as a free kick, but on VAR overturned it and gave it as a penalty. I actually thought it was kind of on the line. It was incredibly difficult to call. I don't think you could really give it either way, so I would have stuck with the on-field referee's decision. But Courtois then saved Marty's penalty, but then from the resulting corner, because the ball then went out of play, they played a short corner routine, the ball fell to Marty in the box, and he scored a delicious goal on the half volley. So overall, despite the controversial moments, Real Madrid were a bit of a mess and didn't really have any complaints. They only had 8 shots with 2 on target. Levante had 14 and 8. XG had it at 1.8 to 1.2 to Los Granados, and it was a pretty damaging defeat, but we didn't really see it coming. Real's league form has actually been pretty good recently. This was their first league defeat in 10 games, but it adds to the sense of frustration surrounding the club. Obviously, they lost to Athletic Club in the Spanish Super Cup semi-finals. They then got beaten by third-tier side Alcoyano in the Copa del Rey, and they've lost the likes of Jovic and Odegaard this month on loan. So a lot of the Madristas are pretty frustrated that their sort of present side, which is filled with the sort of established names of yesteryear, you know, your Marcelos, your Modric's, your Cruzes, your Benzema's, your Ramoses, etc., they're continuing to be played over the exciting future. But actually, at times I can see Zidane's point, because when he's played Militao, when he's played Vinicius, when he's played Rodrigo, they're not performing consistently well enough to displace that old guard. So it's a bit of a mess now, and Real Madrid are now third. They're behind Barcelona now on goal difference, who beat Athletic Club 2-1 last night, and they're 10 points behind Atletico Madrid, who have a game in hand, and it seems like the title is pretty much done. I find it really difficult to believe the way Atletico Madrid are playing that anyone could overturn that deficit. So it's pretty damaging for Real Madrid. But what does this mean for Levante, Henry?
Well, I mean, they've got a surprisingly really strong record against Real Madrid, and they've won 3 of their last 6 meetings in all competitions against Los Blancos. A really solid effort from them. And then they've only lost 2 of their last 15 league games this season. Their main issue really is that they draw too many games. They've drawn 8 league games this season. Sounds remarkably like a Fulham team, I know. And they're only topped by Villarreal and Huesca in that division. Huesca, who I think they drew 11 of their first sort of 50 games or something like that. But anyway, with 18 games to go, they sit 9th, 6 points off Real Sociedad. So putting together a quietly really competent season by Levante standards. And their key man here was 33-year-old winger Jose Luis Morales, who scored a brilliant half volley to equalise. I have to say, both of their goals were really well taken. Excellent finishes. Definitely worth checking out if you haven't sussed that out already. And he's now scored 8 and assisted 3 this season, an involvement in 38% of all their goals. So really key figure, 33 years old, coming good now. But for Real Madrid, this is really troubling. I mean, Odriozola had a torrid time at right back, while their midfield was way too exposed as well. I mean, Casemiro had to go into centre-back, and if it wasn't for Courtois, he looks like one of the real leaders in that squad, doesn't he? He's truly become that kind of goalkeeper I think a lot of us predicted he'd be when he went to Real Madrid. But he made 6 saves, and it could have been really ugly if it wasn't for him. Another excellent save from penalty as well. And like you said, Zidane, he will have some excuses. I mean, Rodrigo, Carvajal, Nacho, Ramos, Valverde, Vázquez and Militao, he's suspended, but all the previous players mentioned were missing. And he's got no idea he's going to play at centre-back against Huesca next Saturday. The news about Sergio Ramos is rumbling on in the papers as well. Will he stay? Apparently Manchester United are interested in him now. Just quickly, Dougie, I've been reading that maybe this is the beginning of the end for the Zidane era, and losses like this to Levante are not going to help that process. How much longer can you see sort of Zidane and this Real Madrid relationship keep on going on for?
Yeah, well, I mean, he's been at this point a couple of times this season. I remember earlier in sort of November time there was speculation about his job as well when they lost to sort of Cadiz, I think it was, and then they were having a really torrid time in the Champions League, and then they got that crucial win against Sevilla, and they have turned up for him on big occasions so far this season. In the game against Gladbach, the final game of the Champions League group, they obviously beat Atletico Madrid's only defeat of the league campaign so far. So, I'm not ruling out the fact that he'll get another couple of results. What I'm ruling out is the fact I'm sort of struggling to see the direction Real Madrid are going, really. They keep on offloading their young stars. They're struggling to move away from the tried and trusted members of that side, particularly Marcelo, who I think has lost 10. So I think Zidane's lost now 12 league games since returning to the club. I think Marcelo's been involved in 10 of them. I think Mendy's only been involved in 2, one of which was obviously on Saturday. So it's really difficult to see. I think Zidane has a lot of credit in his bank, but I think Real Madrid will change manager this summer. I really would. I would be surprised if they didn't, to be totally honest. I mean, do you agree with that as well, Henry?
Yeah, I think a general fresh start might have to go on there. And there are a lot of good managers out there. Allegri, previously mentioned. There's a podcast that I think Chris and Pato did on that, looking at some of the guys who are available right now. And it may get to a point where they just have to kind of hit the reset button there. But anyway, that's enough on Real Madrid for this week. Let's move on to our star of the week.
We're actually not doing a star of the week. Slight error from Henry there, but not a big one, because we're doing a story of the week this week, because we had to talk about the Marseille Riots at the suggestion of Sam Goz. Gozers, thank you very much for getting involved once again. Henry, what went down? Absolute madness.
Yeah. Their game against Rennes was postponed on Saturday after it kind of kicked off in Marseille. Very passionate city when it comes to football. Obviously, their fanatics are sort of well-renowned at the Stade de Velodrome. But yeah, I think, as Alvaro Gonzalez said, it kind of went a bit too far this time around. Local police say about 300 LOM supporters violently attacked officers at their training ground, with 25 arrests. They set tree on fire. Multiple flares were thrown into the training ground. One projectile hit Gonzalez, according to L'Equipe. And in a statement on Saturday, Marseille said the club strongly condemns the unacceptable attacks and that it endangered the lives of people on site. They estimate the damage will be several €100,000, which I'm not sure they really have right now. There's all sorts of banners across the city and protests against the management at the club. There, more seem to be upset with the people behind the scenes as much as anything. Obviously, Morgan Sanson, one of their best players, sold to Aston Villa this weekend. But I mean, Dougie, if you just go into a bit more detail, why on earth this kind of crazy attack has happened for a team who aren't doing like terribly, are they?
Yeah, I mean, it's not been a great start to the season, but it's a weird one. As you said, it's a very passionate club, and they've been disappointed with the performances so far this year. They obviously finished second last year in a curtailed Liga campaign under Andre Villas Boas, returning to the Champions League for the first time since 2013-14. But this season hasn't gone exactly to plan. Sort of one defeat in their opening 14 games, left them fourth on the 12th of December, 2 points off the top. So doing pretty well until about a month and a half ago, or 2 months ago. Since then, though, they've only won one of their last 8 league games, on top of finishing with just 3 points and bottom of their Champions League group. They've lost their last 3 league games in a row and now sit 7th, 16 points behind first place Lille, although they do have 2 games in hand. Now, AVB has already said that he thinks his time at the club is coming to an end, that they won't renew his contract in June. And with regards to recent results, he says, quote, they have been awful. So he's been pretty scathing on his players and himself, actually, because he did take a lot of the heat on that himself as well. And in terms of what happens next, well, the French club's ultras are very against their American owner Frank McCourt, and it looks likely he will leave. AVB is obviously going to leave in the summer, and he's called this summer year 0 for the club. Complete reset needed. It looks like their star players, the likes of Dimitri, Payet, FLorian, Thauvin will also leave. Thauvin's contract's obviously coming up as well. I saw that Liverpool are linked with Duje Caleta-Car as well for a last-minute transfer deal potentially today. So it's a pretty sad period for Marseille, one of the biggest clubs in France, one of the most well-supported clubs in France, but this has just gone completely out of hand, and it's actually pretty sort of disgusting what's gone on over this weekend, and it's really disappointing to see from such a proud club with such a rich history that they can stoop so low. I mean, throwing projectiles into a training ground, hitting your own players, setting a tree on fire, like that's just not supporting your club, that's just thuggery. So really disappointed with that, to be honest. But that's our story of the week. Let us know what you guys make of the events in Marseille in the comments down below, and what you guys thought of Bayern Munich's performance on a happier note, and whether Real Madrid need to sack Zinedine Zidane. Let us know in the comments down below. And that's all we've got time for on today's show. Henry, what should they go and watch now if they've enjoyed this?
Oh, well, obviously go check out the roundup on Football Daily if you want to see the Premier League stuff. But stick on our channel, I think it was another Football Pyramid semi-final. I saw Chris and Sonny looking very jazzy in their outfits this weekend. And also on Real Madrid, actually, I think we've got a good video about how and why they might be failing their youth. I think it was written by you, Dougie, if I'm correct. Yeah, so go check that out. Really interesting stuff on the channel, as always.
Perfect. Thank you guys. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time. Bye.